Hey folks, Daily Landsblog here, and thank you so much for all of your suggestions and ideas. I threw out the question and sharpened it. I threw it out a couple of days ago saying, what's a good way to describe depression? And then I tried to sharpen it by saying, describing depression not to me, where I go, wow, yeah, that really is what I feel. And that creates a bond between you and I. But what I'm trying to do is find a way to explain it to someone who has never felt it. And if we can ever find a way to bridge that gap, or if we can ever find a way to even come up with a reasonable explanation for what depression feels like to share with someone who doesn't, we will have at least started to close the gap, and maybe we'll have affected the stigma. So keep sending your suggestions. And the question is, how would you explain what depression feels like to somebody who's never experienced it? But for the rest of today, I want to talk about the person, the picture that's beside me. This is a woman named Tamara. And an article was written by her mom on a website called thewalrus.ca. And I'm telling you about this because I think it's a really, really, really important article, because I believe that this article we all need to read. This article is heartbreaking and heart-rendering and just so incredibly painful. She lost her daughter, Tamara, who's in the picture there, to suicide. But the story behind it really spells out the society we live in, the world we live in. The fact that she searched for help and she went for help and they didn't understand her, so she took time in between, and then she found another place to go and there was a 6-week wait, and then it just went on and on and on and on. And it's so disturbing because there's not a single other aspect of medicine that this would take place. Not a single one. And really what it comes down to is when you enter the mental health area, when you are really, really sick, not just, I'm really struggling a little bit, but really sick, incapable of really functioning, understanding what's going on, when you need help, that is the time in your life when you are most vulnerable and most incapable of finding your way through this maze called our system. What we need is somebody to grab a hold of your hand and say, I got this. And you may think, well, that's not what the medical system is here for. But ask yourself this. If you went to the doctor and you had a problem with your heart, and you went to a cardiologist, would the cardiologist let you leave the office with questions in mind? What do I do next? Where do I go? I don't think so. I think that cardiologist, if he or she is doing a good job, would lead the way in your treatment. You would not have to be trying to make decisions for yourself. You would not have to be finding out, okay, where do I go next? What do I do? And that is what lacks, and what is lacking in mental health. Someone to hold onto your hand and say, you know what? I got this. I know you're sick. I know this is an impossible time for you. I'm going to help lead you through the system. And right now that system doesn't really exist. There's no one good way to go about getting treatment. And when you read this article, thewalrus.ca, and the name of the article is Death by 1,000 Cuts, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you think we should do about this. SickNotWeak.com, 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. We're here because tomorrow's not.